It does look like though that somebody went to the whoever built it went to the built all the different you know tables into it so that whether you're using the fifth edition or if you're using Premiere or whatever, there's one page for Premiere, tables and
Oh, well, that's nice.
yeah, and it looks like they kind of took a like the Premiere ones they kind of actually like kind of standardized the tables and put them in there more in a way a little more easier to read than the way that they are in the special rules folder there.
Right. Well, that's good. You couldn't go wrong trying to get that organized a little bit better. So,
Now I was trying to make sense. Boy, they've got the whole setup and um, the reinforcement schedule
right.
was kind of a little confusing reading it a little. They had a lot of, but I guess when I started looking at they actually had set up maps. It was starting to make a little more sense. But boy, you just try and read it, the setup, and you go, huh?
Yeah, no, it is a little bit. Um, it you have to. They've got like a little separate page where they're showing you where stuff sets up.
Yeah,
So instead of having, back in the day, they would have, letters or numbers or things printed on the map,
right.
and then you got all this stuff on the map, higgly piggly everywhere. So I think maybe when they started redoing stuff, they started changing it out so that way they had like a diagram generally showing you where stuff was set up.
Yeah, that was all the way in the back because well, they had the special rules, and then they had the setup, and then they had a in there. Then they've got the whole 2016 version of the Premiere rules, and then finally the last pages they got the maps for the setup. It was like, oh, okay,
Yeah, it's not the probably the most elegantly laid out set of rules and whatnot, but it works. You can kind of figure it out, and the nice thing is that they can update it. So you got that email from Jim, I presume,
yep,
talking about the changes to the artillery rules. I haven't looked to see if they've updated that in the rules that are online. I mean, it doesn't matter. They told us personally that they were changing it,
yep.
so I think we're safe to to consider it that way. So I think we're here at 11 o'clock at the Battle of Prague.
Something like that.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's on a level anywhere that I'm aware of.
No,
Yeah,
we've actually had not too much losses yet, other than things being hit by artillery. That's it.
yeah, yeah. So, okay, well, we will see what the next little bit of excitement is. I'm going to try to get reacquainted with where all my units are. I got wing leaders. Wing leaders and brigade leaders, I guess, or division leaders. Okay, those are all of his. Okay, so Fouquet, that's one, and then Harchoni is the other. Where's he at? There he is. Okay. All right, and then where is our... There's Winterfeldt's. And somewhere around we've got to have Schwerin. Where is Schwerin? He is a 7-8. I don't think Schwerin is a casualty. No. Where is he, though?
Wasn't he running around somewhere behind your line there?
He should be. I just don't... I'm trying to find where he is. If somebody got stacked on top of him, or what happened? He is white pants, blue jacket. Here's Brandes. That's somebody else's guys. Kalkruth. Huh, that's really weird. William from beautiful Kitchener, Ontario, Canada says, Eric, every one of your playthroughs is as though I am attending a virtual convention. Yes, well, and unlike our conventions from our youth, everyone was smelling pretty good at this one. Nobody had failed to shower. So that was always a good thing.
I love coming into the middle of a conversation and then just imagining how we got to where we are.
Well, someone was commenting on this being a virtual, like watching our playthroughs is like attending a virtual convention. So I was commenting on there's no body odor that you have to worry about.
No body odor. That's amusing, deeply amusing, actually.
Well, I can remember attending some conventions in my youth where there were people who, were sleeping on the floors or whatever else. They didn't actually have enough, or they would all pitch in to get a room, but nobody bothered to take a shower, kind of a thing. And so one of their methods of dealing with their opponents was biological warfare.
Really?
They had this little cloud of BO that would keep you from pushing your units too close to theirs for fear of being contaminated.
That's lovely. Lovely.
I gotta grab tables here. 1 second.
I have had that problem when playing at it seems at bgg.con or at even at the friendly local game store. It can sometimes be a little eye-watering.
Yes, it's one of those things about gamers that...
How is that? I've never figured that out.
I'm not sure either. Hey, I'm curious. I was trying to find Schwerin, and I can't find Schwerin. I thought he was back here behind my line of infantry, but did he get wounded or anything?
How can he have gotten wounded? Nothing's happened yet.
Well, I don't know. You roll a random dice and he falls into a hole or something.
Well, yeah, but It hasn't actually happened.
Okay.
So you don't know where Schwerin is.
I don't know. I can't find Schwerin anywhere. And I mean, it's not like I was moving around or something.
Well, no. In fact, here I am looking. What about? No. No. Hmm. Um. That's it's a great question. First
Okay.
class question, really. Where the hell could he be?
Yeah, I don't know. It was very.
I'm trying to think. Like, I mean, I guess we need to. Oh,
I
yeah. I
mean,
guess if I were a lot
Winterfeld's.
smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Winterfeld's there.
Yeah.
And Foucault's here. And Harchmony's there. So he
See, the
should be
thing is,
back.
is now that I've looked at his piece on the, on the Prussian units,
Right?
I'm not sure if I've ever seen him. I
Well,
mean, I don't really know, but I sure don't recognize him. Where did he start? He asks as he's about to take his headphones off and go get all of his charts.
I will look up where he started.
All right. Very
Because I
good.
don't know that I've moved him very much since then. All right.
We're doing 4? Is that what we're doing?
We were playing scenario 4.
Donde está my field marshal?
He started with Fouquet, with or adjacent to any unit of Winterfeld's
Or
Kurzel
Kurzel's.
command. I saw Fouquet on there.
Yeah. Fouquet's there. Harchmony's
Yeah.
there. Winterfeld's there.
Right.
But Schwerin is not there.
That's very odd.
Well, that's
I'm.
easy to fix. Somewhere
It
up
is easy
here.
to fix. It's just mysterious because, like, I literally don't recall ever seeing him.
Boom. There he is.
Wow, isn't that neat?
Yeah. And if he turns up somewhere else, we will
Yeah, but
remove the
it makes
clone.
me want to just open up scenario 4, and look.
Oh, yeah. To see if
Was
it's
was he
actually
somehow
there.
left out of the initial setup or
It's
something?
possible. I wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe slipped into a carp pond. I mean, it happens.
That could be. Or when I went to delete, a road marker,
Right.
I ended up deleting him.
Exactly.
That's
Something
more likely the case.
very possible.
All right.
Well, howdy, gents. Lovely to see you all, except I can't see either one of you, but lovely, really, just the same.
Long time no see.
It has been a month's time now, hasn't it? Thanks to one shenanigan or another. All right. Well, I don't know if I remember how to play this game, but I remember how to play Fontenoy, so I hope that's close enough.
Oh, we're much better.
Are you?
Are we
Absolutely. The Prussians are a stellar army.
Oh,
Not
no,
like
I'm sorry.
those ridiculous French and
I thought you two
British.
were better because you'd been playing the last month, but you haven't been playing this in the last
We
month. So I'm not
haven't.
really sure
We
what
are
the hell.
terrible at this.
This isn't Premier rules.
Dude, it's-
Yeah, we could play bar with the premier rules. I'd like that.
I think I'd rather.
You got
play,
10 minutes to move everything.
I think I'd rather play La Bataille with bar rules if it's all the same to you. All right, I'm gonna chuck some dice here. It's gonna be magic.
Okay.
Love it. Here
Let's
we
see
go.
what we get.
Those trays. All right, and
Right
right
off
off the
A
bat.
special,
Right off the bat.
thing. 07. So that's something for the Austrians. A special rally.
Well, good. I'm glad we wasted that when it wouldn't matter much.
There you go.
Don't think there's anybody to rally.
Well, you got a couple of shaken. You got at least one shaken skirmisher up there, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I can't, but it can't apply to those
Oh,
because
because they're
Oh, that's a
independent or
good point.
whatnot. Okay.
Hmm. They're nowhere near a commander. All right, fine. I'll roll again. Fine. You don't appreciate me. God. All right. That's a little bit more like it.
All right. That's a
Going
Prussian.
for the good guys.
A Prussian
Now,
activation.
refresh my memory, everyone. How does this work? Is Schwerin running a detachment?
Yes. So Schwerin has a detachment,
Okay.
which includes, um, let's see, a bunch of the heavy cavalry that's down there,
Right.
the infantry that's in the center,
Right.
and that's it. And then Winterfeld. Or I
Right.
guess Winterfeld's an independent commander, maybe. He's a
Could
separate
still
thing,
be.
it looks like. But maybe he's part of Schwerin's.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. All right. I mean, strictly speaking, detachment rules are such that once one member of the detachment does an activation, then all the rest of the activations need to be with that detachment. The minute you go to somebody else's, another part of the main army instead, now everybody else in the detachment is stuck with a limited activation thereafter.
Right.
So obviously we got an activation. I, I mean, certainly.
If you've got something to do, go ahead and do it.
I mean, I could just brush back these skirmishers, certainly, and just kind of keep doing the bums rush on the northern flank.
Yep, that sounds like a
Don't
good
know
deal.
that I would call that supremely urgent, but we can certainly do it. All right, so now I got to figure out, to whom do all those knuckleheads belong? That's MN. MN. Monstein.
Monstein.
Monstone. All right, fine. We can do him, I guess. Let's see. Now it turns out, well, it's not going to matter, but I'm going to roll anyway just to see if he is in command. Because
Well, he should be. Prince Heinrich is his commander, isn't he? And Prince Heinrich's right there.
yeah, but then from there, how do you get back to the king?
Oh, well, that's a totally different story. Here's the
Oh,
king
actually,
over
the
here,
king's
right?
king's only right there. That's
Yeah.
actually
One, two, three, four,
three,
five.
4, 5, 6, 7. You're right. He is in command. Never mind. I don't
Yeah.
even need to roll. Well done, you. All right then. So I got that going for me. All right. So I don't think anybody needs to worry about being disordered. So I'm not going to worry about them being disordered. So I will go ahead and proceed with movement. Well, I mean, I do fire combat first. I don't know. Probably got regimental guns and stuff. What do I get? ×2 at 2 hex range?
Survey says. Where's your
Yeah.
multiplier?
So
Prussian. These are what? Fusiliers?
actually, they're grenadiers.
They're
aren't
grenadiers. So they're ×3.
they? ×3, quel dommage. Look at that. So that means I will just fire both of them at this guy. Because that would be 8 ×3 is 24. That's 2 to 1. 2 to 1 minus 10 for the skirmishers, and 2 to 1 minus 10 feels pretty good. I bet I could roll a 31 on that. What do you say?
Roll your dice, move your mice. A 94. Wow.
Oh, that's not a 31.
It's not.
Oh dear.
It's
All
going to
right,
become an
minus 10 makes it
84 at 2 to 1.
84. That's going to put the hurt. That's 2.
Wow. And is it a morale check?
It would be. Well, yes. No, it certainly is a morale check. Yes.
But it says, is it a
Because
morale
it's
plus 10 is the question.
it is a morale plus 10. Yes.
Okay.
Because it's 94, so it's an even number. Ergo, it's a morale check, but it's a morale check plus 10 because it was 2 increment losses, which of course nearly vaporized them to start with.
Well, that's one way to deal with them.
It is one way, an unexpectedly pleasant one. So,
I guess I rolled 2 dice here. Boom,
and it's
and
really a
there.
morale check. Ooh, and it's really a morale check plus 20 anyway, because they're half dead now.
And their morale is like 44
40,
or
I
something.
think,
Yeah.
if memory serves. Yeah. So, yeah, that didn't work for them.
What is it? Just for 40, yes.
Yeah.
So are they shaken then, or do they rout?
Shaken?
Shaken,
Nope,
okay.
shaken indeed. Shaken indeed. They're going to rout in a minute here.
All right.
All right, good times. That's how we know we're having a good time, boys. So we'll just go ahead and slide on up there and let you take a shot at me.
I don't even know what the odds are, but
They're probably not great since there's only one increment left. What do you got?
Brenzers are
96,
times 2,
Times 2?
so
that's
it's going to
only
be,
it's
yeah.
1 to 5. Holy! He rolled a 96, which I still don't think is going to be enough. It was a great roll to waste.
It just says R? Or no, is that opportunity fire?
Oh, you're right. It is a disorder check, actually. Because it's a 96, and if you look on the right side column, because it's op fire,
Right.
then actually it is a disorder check for me. So I will disorder check myself. I feel pretty comfortable with that. All right, so we'll go ahead and move him here. Now this gives these shaken guys a great deal more chance at shooting at me. That's a 6 to 10, so it's 1 to 2, and it is 1 to 2 minus. No, it's not minus because there's still 4 increments left. So it's just 1 to 2 straight up.
yeah, that's not going to do anything.
Okay. All right, and then this guy will move here. That's 1. No shot there. And move there, and that's 2, and you get a half a shot there. And I think now this is interesting because I've always kind of played this fast and loose and wasn't really paying attention to the rule. If you've got obstruction, or if you are disordered, what it does is it means that you can have half as many. It doesn't have your fire strength. It halves the number of steps that can fire. Now that sounds subtly different, and it is subtly different because, like anything else, it's rounded. You've got 1.5 increments. That means 2 of them can fire.
Well, they missed.
All right then. It turns out there's some weirdness. I was observing this at Fontenoy, for example. If you're stacked with artillery and you're obstructed, magically the artillery can always fire. Right? Oh, you can only have 2 increments fire. Well, then I'll fire with the artillery and 1 other. Like the guns can just slide to the side, no problem. Anyway, just how it goes. Okay. I think there is... Are there a couple other units? I think there are a couple others that are members of this command. Just 2 more, it looks like.
It looks
All
like you've got 1, 2, 3, 5 altogether.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
All right. And these slopes don't mean much. Oh no, these slopes all mean something. Holy smokes. Okay. Just trying to figure out what way to go with these guys. All right. I'm going to move him here. And that's going to make him faced this way. So that's half. And then to come out a road would make it 1.5. And that would be 2. And then I would furiously be looking for charts to tell me how much it's going to cost him to go into line. Where are my charts? Okay, I'll just look on the charts online.
From
'cause I guess that's
column
probably
to
gonna be
one
faster.
line hex. So it's going to cost him 1 from the looks of it.
A whopping 1, it looks like. All right, and he is currently at 2, so that is 3 to do that. All right. Yeah, screw it. I'll go ahead and do that for 4. You got 1 increment. It's like, what is that? 1 to 5 again.
Nah.
Okay.
So I don't see a 1 to 5 on the chart. The 1 to 3.
There isn't one.
Oh, okay.
we're shooting them at 1 to 3.
Oh, okay.
And then what do I do with this guy? If I turn, that's 1. That'll be 2. That'll be 3. Okay. All right. So let's see. I do that. It's 1. That would be 2 because of the slope. 3. Three and a half, 4.5, and we'll roll for a disorder check. And we're okay. And then I will go find a place for Hermannstein to hang out. And let's just put him right there for the moment. And that'll be good for now. So we go ahead and roll for close combat and just give these guys the bums rush. And so I will go ahead, because I'm a cautious fellow, I will just do all 4 of these guys, because there's no downside if for some reason you all run away. So we're just going to go down the line. He's shaking. The next one is also shaking. What did I say about downside? Actually, 17, he might not be shaking, although he probably is. Oh, look at that. Wow. All right. Third. Okay. And fourth. Okay. All right. Well, so no close combat up north, as we all are like staring at each other in terror. So defenders, you can either retreat before combat or not.
And how far do I retreat back if I
Oh,
retreat?
I think it's
back?
1 or 2. Memory serves. 1 or 2, your choice.
Actually, I have to step away for just a moment.
Very
Sorry
good.
about that.
Actually, it occurs to me I don't have my standard rules here, so I'm going to go run into the next room and grab them. Pardon me.
I will forgive you. I will try to keep everyone engaged with witty banter in the meantime. Let's see. What was his morale for that guy? 18. Oh, he was so close. I'm surprised that there is not. So, Michael, are you back?
I'm back and I'm badder than ever.
So I'm curious. Are there no modifiers to your close combat roll, like based on the size of the unit or how many are
Oh,
going
you know
in
what?
or anything like that?
Actually, to be completely honest, that one in the middle, because he is supported, he's got people on both sides of him. He's in a supported line. Actually, that should have given him um, a -10. And since he only missed by one, actually, he probably should have been okay.
Okay.
If you look at pre-close combat morale check, the things that count are, SP losses, disordered, shaken. To a certain extent, there's a little bit of changes based upon your formation, but the -10 from supported line or hook um, actually is enough that he's not disordered. It's an interesting point. Thank you for pointing that out. That's the danger of the flank is that, well, first of all, this guy here on the end of the row, I mean, he rolled an 11, so he missed by a lot, but
Yeah.
also he didn't have the -10 from being in the middle of the line. So, well done you for picking that up.
Well, I mean, just curious because I know that with obviously the Labatai games, you've got modifiers based on the odds and things like that.
Yeah, and actually, that's a thing that I kind of like, really, because it does make a certain amount of sense that, I mean, bunch of grenadiers going in against skirmishers. Come on, boys. Find the stones. Let's go.
All right, and so
You're
that's
right.
that is
They
a
should.
morale check B, and so um, let's see,
Right. And so
general
it's a
order.
right.
Right. Okay, and then supported line. Yep, there's the
Yep.
-10.
So -10, which means really I rolled
A 7.
a 7, which
Yeah.
obviously was perfectly.
Okay.
No, no, excuse me. The -10 is to your actual effectiveness
Oh,
rating.
so then his
But
effectiveness rating is
my,
8.
right, as compared to a 17, so all good. So, all right, well, that's good. That's marvelous. That means more pushing back Grenzers.
Now, my only other question is this guy
Yes,
here,
yes,
it cost him 4 movement points to get there, but he was
yes.
entering an Ezok. Does that cost then an extra
Oh,
movement point?
shit, man, this is what I get for playing solo. It was 4 to get him there, which means he needs to roll for a disorder check. Thank you.
Right, so it would be then
Wow.
5, right? Oh, 7.
Now we find out that.
Well, sorry I
No,
mentioned
no,
it.
no, 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 not at all, not at all. All right, so that's Prussian 7. If the unit is a 36 plus, roll with a +5 ER modifier. Otherwise, re-roll with a -5. So I will re-roll with a -5 because since he's a grenadier and he is disordered. Wow.
What's going
I got.
on? What are you doing?
Well, Eric was doing a fine job of asking some questions.
Ah,
Because, he didn't want to be rude and interrupt the flow. But by the way, it's like, hey, did you realize, Michael, that, for example, this guy actually was in a supported line, so he should have gotten a -10 on his effectiveness rating for his pre-melee morale check. Oops, you're exactly right. And oh, by the way, this guy spent 4 movement points to go there, but wasn't it really 5 because he was moving into an Ezok? Yes, as a matter of fact, it was. So he should have done a disorder check, and he managed to fail it. So a few things changed while you've been gone.
I see. Okay, so I'm back. But
All right,
all right. So
very good.
it moves 1 or 2 hexes, retreating player's choice away from the enemy. Is there to attack it? And retreat is completed. The unit makes a morale check D. This morale check replaces a close combat defender for the retreated unit. The movement points are not expended. Training has no effect. Enter, you may not retreat into an enemy occupied. Skirmishers may retreat through hexes occupied by friendly units. At the deploy units must end their retreat in the same formation with the same facing and occupying the same number of hexes. And well, of course I will try and retreat here. So let's see here. Okay. So, and I'm going to retreat 2. And all right, so morale check D, top one. So probably didn't make it. So it's well, the top one's shaken, so it's minus. Is that
It's another plus 10.
so? He's 40 plus 10. Anything else?
Don't know. What is it? It's a
Morale
B?
check D.
Retreat before close
Oh,
combat.
it's D, right. It's delta.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, so the being shaken is 10, but boy, there isn't much else, is there?
No.
Nope, that's all I
So
see.
he passed then.
He
so
looked
he's
like he did
40,
pass,
50.
actually.
So,
Right.
all right, so he's all right. Now the other one, he's half. So he's does the plus 10
So
for
he'll have a
half,
plus,
20.
plus
Or-
20.
Yeah, because he's also shaken and he's and he's gonna do what he does. So,
Mm,
Units already shaken, route.
yeah.
right. Okay.
And Rowdy goes how many back?
4. He's infantry.
And this turns into a rout. Oops, that doesn't go. This goes.
Well, is he still in skirmish mode
No.
if he's routed?
No, he's skirmish only, but not really. Yeah, because he's routed, so skirmish doesn't really apply to him.
Can take it off. Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, 6-1, half dozen the other.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. Get the whole stack here, Dave. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. These can disappear. All right.
All right. Well, that was magnificent. I went ahead and did the advance after combat. Doesn't matter. So, anyway, we've done it. That is the end, and it's Eric's roll for initiative.
Here we go. Something exciting. Nope, the same exact roll we
Exactly
had
the same
before.
thing. Yes, so exciting. Well played.
All right. Well, why don't you continue on with your stuff while I refamiliarize myself with the rules?
Okay.
Now,
all right.
what were you saying, Michael, at the beginning? You have to keep moving.
Oh, so the detachment rules, that I think the idea behind it is what they don't want to do is make it too easy for you to coordinate between the main army and a detachment. They don't want people to abuse the detachment rules, because after all, you're supposed to be operating separately. So once a command in a detachment does an activation, then effectively, in order to get a full activation, you need to continue on with the detachment. Because the minute you leave that detachment and go back to the main army, what that means is that everyone else in the detachment who hasn't already activated only gets a limited activation.
Okay.
They don't want you to be able to do the perfect walkie-talkie,
Right.
Lee at Chancellorsville, kind of. I mean, they don't want that. And so
Now,
this is effectively meaning that I can do things over here, or I can do things over here, but I can't intermingle them.
Right. So the idea is that, say, Harchmony and Kalkruth and the infantry that are part of my detachment, we wouldn't want them coordinating then with the guys that are here by Kej, right? So
Well,
you're doing your
they're-
thing, and you've got to do
right.
all of your thing for the entire army, and then I can do my thing.
Well, a little bit, not exactly.
Oh,
Because when
okay.
you think about it, because for example, I could be doing things with the main army,
Right.
and that could include, by the way, the guys that are right there, right next to you.
Oh, okay.
And then you could go do your things, and then I can go back and do whatever the hell I want. But what we can't do is keep going back to your detachment over and over again.
Ah, okay.
We can always go to the detachment and then pop back to the main army, but the detachment's done once you've done the detachment.
Oh, okay, okay. I didn't realize that. I thought it was either or, and once you picked one, you couldn't change back.
No, it's
So
not
you can do
selective.
stuff with the main army, then I can move the detachment, and then we could bounce back to the main army. But if I hadn't moved everything in the detachment, it couldn't move for the rest.
Exactly. So
It
it's
would
kind of
be
like whatever
limited
you need to
activation.
do with the detachment, you need
Right.
to just do
Okay.
all
Cool.
at once. And whether you choose to do that at the beginning or later, or whatever. But it's kind of all got to be together.
Okay.
And what defines a detachment?
Oh, the detachment is defined
In
in
the
the
scenario
scenario rules.
rules.
Okay, because I'm looking at the chart here, and it doesn't really kind of say. Okay, all right.
Uh, Here at the very top of page 17, the Prussian leader Schwerin is the detachment leader. His detachment consists of the wings of Schonach, Fouquet, and Hachamoy, as well as Winterfeld's command.
So the heavy cavalry, that infantry that's there in the center, and basically that's it. That's
Uh,
the
or, or another way of looking at it is it's the top row of the Prussian order of battle.
yes. That's another way of looking at it.
Okay, all right. So basically, from what you're saying with the rule, then, but once one of those moves, if he wants full movements for each, he has to keep moving the
That's
different
right. Yes,
ones there
that's
until it goes
exactly right.
right.
Now there
Yours
is
is part of the main army. Is that why yours is not a detachment? Is that
That's correct.
okay?
Yes. So, and I will add one other thing that I was yesterday old when I learned this. Um, I don't know the man. His name is Eve. He's
Oh yes.
on the Consim World Board, and he pointed out a technique that he likes to use, and I thought, ooh, I don't want to accuse the guy, but that doesn't sound right at all. And I went and looked it up, and I'll be darned, he was exactly right. Because like the command rules are a little bit complicated because they only affect you during movement. Similarly, so are limited activations. There's nothing to prevent a cavalry unit from charging during a limited activation. Now,
As long as you're
don't
within the 3 or 4 hex range.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now, don't misunderstand me. It's the sort of thing that might not really come up, which is probably how I managed to play this long without learning it, um, because it means you're already quite close to the enemy, and
Mm-hmm.
it also means that if you're that close to the enemy, why didn't you already activate? I mean, but nevertheless, if just by chance you're within charge range of the enemy, there's nothing to prevent you doing that while you're doing a limited activation, which I thought was pretty wackadoo. Shoes, don't know.
Hmm.
All right. Well, so it's us again.
Indeed.
Boy, howdy. Um, I'm gonna say, especially given that everything we've just talked about, um, what have we got? We've got the guys near Kaj, which certainly there's more we could do with them. There's the rest of who's that? Leshtvitz. Um, his guys are down here, um, just off the Kaiserstrasse right now.
Yep.
I think
That's
that's right.
Brandis.
Brandis, right? Boy, there's bloody few of them though. Okay. All right. Um. Oh, screw it. I'll just go ahead and move Brandis and these artillery pieces, I guess. Um. I will go ahead and roll to put him in command because he's nowhere near the king. So I'm sure he is well out of range. I'm sure he is. He is in command, so that's marvelous. All right, and then I'm gonna double check on what I'm doing. Ooh, very nice. 1. Okay. All right, so nobody's disordered. Don't need to worry about disorder. Everyone's in command, so we'll just go ahead and start moving. And so this guy's gonna go. That's 1. That is 2. That is 3. And that is 4. What is that under him? Is that just one piece? I don't know. There's something about the piece makes it look like there's more than one piece there. I don't know. Not sure what that is. All right. And then this guy is going to move on up. 1, 2, 3, 3.5. Whoops. 4. So he is needing a disorder check, which I certainly hope he passes. Ooh, not as good as I hoped.
They're
All
not the
right.
best and the brightest. They're Fusiliers.
Ooh, and actually, you know what? I missed a half a point there because I failed to perceive the slope right there. Since they're not in road, the slope affects them. So that's half. That's 1.5. That's 2. Whoops, that's 2. That's 3. It's 4. And that's going to be 5. We'll just put everybody in order there. He's fine. And then we will move this guy up here. And we'll flip him over. I haven't moved the infantry yet, or the artillery yet. So I guess I will do that. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the general back here, Leschwitz, will go ahead and move
Okay.
to put himself into a handy location between his commands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just call that good. So I think that's it.
All right, it's your turn to roll, David.
Okay, doke. Damn. And it's another one to you guys.
It is. But not enough to activate a wing, is it?
It's not. I
Sad.
think 5 is Frederick's number. I think it is. Somebody call me if that turns out not to be true. We're hoping that our vast audience at home will notice. We'll set things to right.
It's a 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a 5. Excellent. Okay.
All right, what else do you want to move?
I guess I will go ahead and do the other half of Leschwitz, so Kleist, or yeah, Kleist. It is
Yep.
Kleist. Yeah. Just gotta figure out what I want to do with him. I guess first things first. Roll to see if he's in command. He is undoubtedly in command. Fine Prussian man that he is. And all right, everyone's in command compared to him. That is all great. And if these guys turn to the left, that's a 1, so that's good. All right, screw it. We're going in, boys. You know why? Because we can.
There you go. It's the Prussian way.
It's because we can. Um, I'm guessing, well, it doesn't matter. Grenadier, light infantry, or fusilier, it doesn't matter. They're all times two. So you've got 1 to 1.5 you can shoot at that guy as he approaches.
50. I don't think that's
Nope,
enough.
not enough. Okay. Mm, all right. This guy's going to go 1, 2. 3, 4, 5. We'll take a chance on the disorder check. Looks good. All right. And let's see now. Oh, what is that? That's a village hex. That's going to be probably a 1 to go through. I'm furiously looking for.
Infantry in column.
Yeah.
1.
Okay. All right. So that's 1 to go there. One and a half, 2.5, 3.
Is that little
4.
green thing there on that hex side? Is that anything, or is it?
That's a really good question. What is it?
I don't see anything on the chart, does it? So
It's a bit of artwork.
decoration.
Yeah, it's like a hedge, but it's not really obvious what it's supposed to be. That's a good question. I don't know.
It's somebody's garden.
Half, 1.5, 2, 3. All right, and then we'll just go ahead and show up down here and just see how much mischief we can get into. So we're going to go ahead and roll for close combat because why not? I love this fucking game.
So is that a 10 or is it a special thing?
No, it's a 10.
Oh, okay.
It's a 10, and the fact that the guy on top is a 23, that makes him 18, that still ain't going to get close enough to where he ought to be. So I think that is what we call too effing bad. So there is no close combat for the moment, and I'm going to flip him over to finished, and good times.
All right, I think it's back to your
It is
roll.
my die roll,
Yeah.
in fact, so I will die roll now. Here we go. 35, is that, are we +1?
Yeah, you're
Is-
+1.
Yeah.
Frederick, so that's 1 to you then.
Yep.
All right,
All right.
off you go.
Now, okay. How does that detachment rule affect me?
It doesn't. Well, I don't
Doesn't
know.
affect
Do you have
at all. You
attachments?
don't have any detachments.
Okay,
At least I don't believe there are.
I just have independent units, aren't? Okay.
Yes, independence, that's a completely different beast. Independent units still theoretically trace to the same army commander, whereas
Okay.
detachment is almost like a different army. with a different army commander, completely independent of the primary unit's army commander. So
Yeah.
none of it applies to you at all. It applied, by the way, in Brandywine. We just elected to kind of ignore it just for convenience. But strictly speaking, well, I guess the Hessians were a detachment, right?
No, I mean von Niephausen was a detachment.
Well, that's what I mean,
Yeah,
right? But so your guys, Eric, were a detachment, and strictly speaking, if we'd been of a mind, we would have followed that rule. But I think we
and
elected
we
just for
generally did
convenience not to bother.
because yeah, we did in most cases. I think we
Okay,
did.
all
Yeah.
right. But anyway, it only applies. Some scenarios permit the creation of detachments. Some of them have detachments at the outset, and some, frankly, just don't mention it. Malvitz probably doesn't have any mention of it at all, as an example.
All right. So I can pick anybody I want there.
Anybody! You are free as a bird.
Okay. Uh, all right. What do we want to do here? Six. Um, I don't know what I want to do. What do I want to do? All right. What do I have to worry about here? Have to worry about anything?
You don't have to worry about anything at all.
No, I
Just
see that.
fall back into Prague.
Now, howitzers can they shoot over or like we were or but
Yeah,
or
yeah, they can. They're indirect fire.
Yeah, have to look at the specifics.
yeah, there was something with that. I just
Line of sight 23.
all right. So I've got
12.6D howitzers. Artillery types designated as howitzers in the game's battle rules may ignore friendly units for LOS purposes, providing the firing howitzer has an otherwise valid LOS to the target, and the friendly unit is closer in hexes to the firing howitzer than it is to the target unit, which I think is going to be your problem here. A howitzer unit firing over friendly units has its firing SPs halved, rounded. Howitzer stacked with infantry must still be on top to fire. So, I think if we're talking about that as your potential target, then he can't shoot at him
right.
because this guy is closer to the target. So, I mean, as you can easily imagine, that would be kind of not great, right?
Now I would be able to shoot at some of these others down the line, but I would be at half strength
Half
point.
strength points, yeah. Although, on the other hand, I mean,
Some of
what
those
else is he going to do, right?
some of those may actually have some.
Oh, of course, the other thing is you would need a otherwise valid line of sight, though.
Right.
And I'm not sure you have a valid line of sight to most of those guys.
Hmm. I concur on that.
Okay. So, yeah, maybe not.
Wonder what the best thing is for me to do with him, actually. All right, so I think I'm going to, let's see. I've got Stalberg and I've got,
We got Vide.
yeah,
Vide.
let's see, Bide. So those the guys are Bide. Right hook there. Okay, that makes sense. Actually, Let's yeah, well we'll divide and we will um activate the howitzer and the two 6-pounders there.
Alrighty.
So let's
Gadzooks.
see if Wide's in command. That's one die right.
Should be.
And what is it? That's a
Sunday.
6. He's not in command.
Okay.
Which means basically I can't go into an Ezok, right? So
Unless you're already adjacent.
right.
Excuse me. Unless you're already adjacent to the Ezok. So, for example, those guys in the right hook could move into an Ezok because they're
Oh.
already immediately adjacent to an Ezok. That makes sense?
Yeah. Okay.
You know, that is marvelous. Every now and again, you just get reminded that you don't have a pancreas.
Oh. Why is that guy got 3? What did you do to I've got 3 casualties on that one guy. What happened to him?
He got shot up.
I think it was the magic of the 99 or 98. He did get beat
Yeah.
up pretty bad, which I think is why you moved that other unit in
Right.
with it. Holy hell. Excuse me.
Oh, I'm in a bad spot. That's a bad.
Go.
So I can't I can't remove the right hook and change the facing on that because I can only.
Why not?
Because
Just-
the unit underneath is a different command.
Oh. Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah, Veed and then the other guys was Stolberg.
So you. Okay, so you get Veed is who's activated right now.
Right.
Okay. So you're absolutely right. The only way to leave that right hook is to leave the right hook and to leave the hex, which probably isn't what you had in mind. Because you're right, without it being a wing activation or
Even
a
a wing.
leader being
Yeah.
a leader being there would be able to attach
Ah.
a
So,
unit, and that would perhaps allow it to work.
all right. So, all right. So, okay. So weed's been activated here. Blah blah blah. All right. So next is fire, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I will fire on this guy.
Right.
Now I can combine these two.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. I mean, only half, of course, of the ones
Right.
on the upper unit there. So two increments at times 2, I guess, and then 4 increments at times whatever your regular multiplier is, which is what 3 or 4 depends. What are those guys?
Those
What?
the 8-4
Okay,
Fusiliers.
Okay, so times 3 times 4, so that's 12 plus 4, so 16.
Okay. So only. All right. So only. Okay.
Half of those guys can fire because their line of sight is partially blocked, right? All
Right.
of these guys can fire.
So
These
that's
guys have got a times 3 multiplier, so 4 times 3 is 12. These guys are a times 2 multiplier at 2 hex range, so it's
that's just the 5, the 5-4. That's
yeah, they're the ones on top. So actually, all 4 increments at the top of that stack
Oh, that's
are
right. Only 4 increments can fire. Okay, so it's
right.
half of 2. All right.
Exactly. Right. So 4 times 3 plus 2 times 2. So there's 16. So 1.5 to 1 plus something for the target size. Plus whatever it is, plus 15.
I will go for that.
Sure.
15, so 76.
76. 1.5 to 1. That's going to be a hit for sure. Is it just one?
Fire. 1.5 to 1, 76. Yep, that's all I see. One, and it's odd, so it's not a morale check, right?
Exactly. All right. Hey, man. You take your increments where you get them.
Yeah. Um.
Nobody else can shoot. Time to move.
Well, I got artillery that can shoot, right?
Oh, sorry. Of course. I was thinking about the command itself.
Yeah. So we'll do this one. We'll might as well shoot on. Let's see. Is it?
All right. That's 6 pounders at 3 hex range. So that's going to be times 7. So it's going to be 14.
And plus you're at +5 because you're
Yep.
one thing below me. And am I in the? Do I get a? Oh, I get a plus for being in the entrenchment, right?
Oh, what is that? I forget.
I think it's another +5.
Is it? Okay. All right. So plus 10 all day.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
Holy hell.
106. What was the odds
Six,
on that?
and that was on the 1-to-1 column.
1 to 1. I think that's 2.
Okay.
2 and a morale check, it looks like.
2. Yeah,
Morale check
definitely.
+10. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so 2. First things first there. And, and increase. Okay. And then for the morale check +10. I think he is all right, but we will double check because I don't know these guys very well yet. But yeah, he's fine. All right. So that was a pretty good shot there. All right. What else you got?
All right. We'll do this other 6-pounder here, and I guess we'll shoot at this guy down here. So he's also
2, 3, 4, 5.
it's +5 +10.
So 1-to-1.
1 to 1 +10. 93.
Okay.
That would be 1 hit. And again, I don't get a morale check. Jesus, come on.
Well, no, you got a morale check on the last one. I just passed it.
Oh, that's right.
You're not being mistreated here.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Now I guess
Now it's time for movement.
now it's time for movement. All right.
Although, I don't know. I mean, you activated the howitzers, but I don't really know that there's anything you can do with them.
Well, I can prolong them.
Ah,
Right.
very good. Carry on then.
All right. So actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move him up to there. I think there. And actually, what's it to limber?
2.
2, and then I can go 2.
Probably, yeah, for those guys. I imagine they're a 4 movement.
Yeah, let's limber.
Any facing.
So they face a.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, quite correct.
Okay. 1, 2.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I think I'll just leave that other guy as kind of a reinforcement in the
Backstop.
rear.
Yeah, not a bad thing.
Okay. And flip.
Marvelous.
And it's back to you.
Is
Oh,
it me?
yeah,
Really?
think.
All
Wasn't
right.
that, didn't I?
I roll dice. I don't care. I roll dice. Here we go. See? Look at that. I roll dice. Check it out.
Hey, and it
Finally,
proved,
actually advanced the end turn marker. Been rolling pretty low. So that's another one for the good guys. So what I am looking for here, do I have anybody who has any reason to worry about going off-road yet, who I haven't already moved? And the answer is no, I don't think so. I think all my guys who are going to go off-road actually have already moved. So that means that we're free, Eric, if you have anything in mind. Any nefarious plans?
Any nefarious plans?
Any
Well,
nefarious plans at all?
are we
You can have
Are
an
we ready to
activation.
start pushing my infantry forward? Like into towards the along the Kaiserstrasse?
Wouldn't. But you know me. I'm the guy who didn't want to go forward at Bordino either.
Well,
I'm the cautious, let the battle develop guy. And I've got how many battalions that are still on the road coming up? Who will be turning and heading up the Kaiserstrasse? We're going to have a huge number of troops there soon.
okay. All right.
So, for me, I wouldn't until I had stronger additional forces.
Okay.
But that's just me.
That is
The
just
other
you.
thing is remember, I've played the scenario where you are basically the Prussian grenadiers
Right.
advancing on the Austrian grenadiers. It's a freaking bloodbath.
Okay.
I mean, because those 12-pounders, it's just like, you better be going in like you mean it. And you better have lots of help because you're going to be losing a lot of friends on the way. So, I don't know. For me, I wouldn't yet.
Okay.
Cavalry? That's something else. It might be, doing stuff with cavalry? That sounds like a good time.
Okay. Well, then maybe we'll try to see if we can't get Krakow to do something here, right? The heavy cavalry, push them forward.
If you'd like, sure. Why
Well,
not? I mean, only electrons die.
Exactly. Well, so let me roll, see if I can get him in command. An 8. I don't think he's in command.
Oh, no.
Nope, he's a 5. All right. So, I can move. Can I charge?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because I'm not in a Zoc. Okay.
That's the subtlety about it, is during the movement phase. You can't move into an enemy zone of control that you aren't already adjacent to, but if you're cavalry, why are you going to do that anyway?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see here. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. They got to go 4 forward, right?
Is that your charge range?
Yeah, I think the charge range for the Prussians is 4.
It's been a month. Can you tell?
Yeah.
Theirs is 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1, 2. Oh, actually, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll leave our brilliant leader back here for the moment. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, let me see. Then there's the slope down. Does it cost something? No, it doesn't cost anything during the
slope doesn't cost anything during charge.
Okay.
Only steep slopes do.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right. So I kind of got stuff there. What's the reaction charge range for my guys? Is it also 4 or is it
No,
2?
no.
Or?
In fact, it's really weird because it is not variable. It's always 2.
Ah, okay.
So, in other words, when someone is 2 hexes away from you, you can choose to countercharge, and that countercharge will basically allow you to move the 1 hex towards them. I mean, assuming that they're charging in approximately your direction, right?
Right.
So, I mean, effectively, when you countercharge, you're probably going to move 1 hex, and all you've done is shave a hex off of the other guy's charge. So that's kind of the net benefit is kind of -1 to the attacker and +1 to the defender by countercharging,
Okay.
compared to if you just stood there and took it. And obviously, +2 is nothing to sneeze at. So,
All right. Well, we'll give this a try. So now I have to roll for the guys to engage. Is that correct?
so now you would roll attacker morale checks on anybody who wants to charge.
Okay. All right.
So, assuming you're going to do all of them.
No, I'm going to leave a couple back, right?
There you go. That's
Yep.
fine.
And so then I'll just go in with these 3.
All right, very good. So then just roll whatever the top unit is in the case of a stack.
Okay. So we'll go with that one here. Let's see what we get.
Now, because you picked the ones in the middle, you do have a -10 on all of these, though, because of supported line.
Ah, okay. So I think, they're 22. They're really happy. So they'll go in. So let's see here. So, so I just mark them all first, right? As
yeah. You definitely mark them all first, because it obviously could have a profound impact on what you choose to do if somebody chooses not to go in.
Okay. All right. And then this chap here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. They're going to go in.
Yeah.
And then these guys here.
And it's by stack?
It is by stack.
Okay.
All right. And they're good too.
Yep, absolutely. Okay.
All right.
Now, strictly speaking, those charge markers, you see how it's got the 2 arrows on it?
Oh, I don't, because I'm not zoomed in. Let me zoom in.
Oh, okay. Strictly speaking, those were intended to sit at the corners of your charge range and show you the triangle that you're allowed to charge into. I mean, that's what they're for.
It didn't give me an option for a close combat thing here on the little drop down menus for the units. I mean, I'm sure there's something over somewhere else, but am I missing something?
You're right. It's marked as charge, and now if I go over to another unit here, I see close combat instead. Interesting. Yeah, you're right. That's all they're giving you. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah. As long as we know what it means.
Worry about it. We all understand what's going on there. So at this point now, you can move 1 stack at a time.
Right.
1 hex at a time, and then obviously when the defenders choose to, or when you're close enough, the defenders can elect to try to countercharge if they want.
So there's 1.
There you go. That's 1.
2.
And there's nothing he can do yet.
Right.
So 2. Again, nothing he can do yet.
3.
All right. Now he can, if he chooses to countercharge, he has to do a morale check in order to do it.
Right.
What if he fails? He just doesn't go.
Hey, if he fails, it's worse than that, because he's going to be shaken.
Oh. What if he stays? Is there a downside for standing instead of
Oh,
countercharging?
well, I mean, the only downside to standing is, of course, he didn't charge a hex, so he doesn't get a +1. And you get to charge an extra hex, so you get another +1.
Oh.
So effectively, there's a difference of 2 on the close combat die roll, which is not inconsequential if he does nothing.
Right.
So, but you're right, it's absolutely a risk. He has to decide, do I feel comfortable enough that I'm going to make my morale check to be able to do this? Because obviously, if he doesn't make the morale check, that really sucks, because now he's -5. But on the other hand, if he feels good enough about it, then he could charge you, and then things are better. So anyway, that's the thing.
I'll stand.
Okay. All right. So then.
All right.
that
So
means
this guy just comes right there, right?
he comes right in. Yes,
Okay.
that's exactly right. Okay.
All right.
So now you go to the next stack and
So
carry on.
1, 2, 3,
Yep.
and once again you're going to stand.
Yeah, I'll stand.
Okay.
All right. Very good. So you move on
go
in.
there.
Very good. All right.
And last one, 1, 2, 3, and
Assuming
4.
he's going to stand again, right?
Yeah.
Sure. All right. Very good. Very good. So now, at this point, and this is where I always find the very back of the main rules to be so helpful, because they break it down for you a little bit in the sequence of play.
This is on page 48.
Yep, that's exactly right. So
Okay.
we've already done the attacker designations. We've done the attacker morale checks. We've done the cavalry charge movement and any defender reaction or cavalry or counter charge movements. Now it's time for the individual combat designations. So this is where you, as the attacker,
Right.
get to determine who's attacking whom. Now, clearly, in this case, there's not a whole lot of choices involved, right?
Right.
Either you could just go one stack against one stack, mono a mono,
Right.
or obviously you could have your 2 stacks attack his stack on the end, and then the other one is left to attack the 2 stacks. It's entirely up to you. You dictate what is this, within those constraints, what's the attack you want to resolve first?
Right. So, since this is the first time I've conducted a cavalry charge since we
Yep.
played, is it better to do one hex on one hex, or is it better to combine?
That's an interesting question. I would say that given that you've got a flank where you've got somebody who's sitting at the edge of a line,
Right.
that there might be a desire to be able to break into that, and you could, assuming you win that first battle, you could certainly have somebody turn in and facing towards the other guy to reduce his defender morale check, or to provide a negative modifier there.
Right.
So might there be, and I think what I would ordinarily think is that since he didn't countercharge, you probably have enough pluses. You probably don't need to gang up on the guy on the end,
Okay.
but you certainly could if you wanted to say, what I really want to do is just peel the line and start working down the line into the flanks of each succeeding stack,
Right.
right? So I don't know that I've got a really strong opinion about it. Obviously that guy at the end, the guy who's going to be left attacking 2 stacks, that's not great, right?
Well, I don't know. I'll just go one on each and see what we get, right?
The good news is that last guy is attacking at 1-to-1 because he's doubled up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you wanted to, you could just say, yeah, okay, then I'll go ahead and double up on the guy on the end here and try to get 2-to-1 odds on him, and then just see where it goes from there. I don't know.
Well, how about I do this? This guy attacks. He's going to be attacking at 2-1, right? And if he's
Uh,
successful, well, then that would that then help this guy or this guy with their next one?
well, okay, so it's interesting you'd bring that up because there are two different ways that it matters. So the first way is just the idea of being outflanked when you do your defender morale check.
Okay.
Obviously, the morale is probably more important to close combat than anything is.
Okay.
Um, and if you are outflanked, you get a +10. And what that means is if there is a non-routed enemy unit in any of
Here,
your
hang on
flank
just a
or
minute,
rear,
guys. Someone's at the door. Hang on.
you betcha.
This is fun. We haven't had a cavalry charge for a while.
Oh my gosh, we haven't since, of course, we didn't have any in the last game, right?
Right? We didn't have any
Wow.
cavalry, and
I hadn't thought
And,
about that.
and very little in the one before that, and since basically since Chatuzit. So
That's right. I mean, you and I had a little bit at Monmouth, but just barely, because I had a couple of cavalry units. But I mean, if I remember correctly, I think I managed to fail most of my morale checks before charging. It wasn't terribly effective.
All right. It was my son returning from the Renaissance Fair. He forgot
Oh,
to take
wonderful.
his keys,
Oh,
which
well,
is just as well because I don't think he had pockets or whatever else in his costume. So
they didn't have keys in the Renaissance.
They
so it's
did.
totally, he was just trying to be in theme.
there you go. Certainly not
All right.
keys to his electric vehicle. So
Ooh, yeah, no. I don't even know what a key to an electric vehicle would be. But all right, so moving along.
yes.
So, as I said, there are two aspects where somebody in your flank could be an issue. One of them is for your your defender morale check,
Okay.
and merely the presence of an enemy unit in your flank or rear, whether it's participating in the attack or not, is enough to get you a +10 on your morale check. And obviously, +10 on your morale check could really be bad because
Right.
if you are shaken, that's a -5 and to your combat value, and you're not going to be happy about it. The other one is more subtle, and that's the idea of an enfilade.
Okay.
So let's suppose, by chance, you knock that unit out in the middle,
Yep.
and let's suppose by chance that you elect to turn the unit that advances into that hex toward one of those two units on either side.
Right.
And there are reasons why you might not want to, but if you elected to,
Mm-hmm.
then during the subsequent combat of that unit, the fact that there's an enemy unit whose facing is towards your flank is enough to cause what's called a passive enfilade,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that these guys are aware of the fact that they've got enemies on their side while they're being attacked in the front, and they get a -3 to their combat value.
Okay. Plus
Now,
whatever the negative is for the morale check.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Okay.
the morale check's already over by that point. Now, let's suppose by contrast, and I'm doing this because it's a subtlety that's not obvious, but let's suppose that you displace that guy in the middle
Right.
and you advance into that hex, but bearing in mind that he's got a second line unit right behind.
Right.
You may say, you know what, I don't want to turn to the left or to the right because I don't want to expose my flank to this guy.
Right.
So I'm going to continue facing straight forward. Well, in that case, I don't become a passive enfilade to either of those defending stacks north or south of me. I
Right.
still am causing an outflanking problem for them because now they've each got a +10 on their morale check.
Right.
But there is no passive enfilade because I'm not actually facing them.
Okay.
So that's kind of the complicated sorts of nuances there. Now, again, remember, you might take the approach of saying that, hey, I got 2-1 on this guy, and I'd like to go ahead, hit in the middle, and do exactly what we just talked about.
Right.
You might say, well, on the other hand, he's going to get a -10 for being supported line, on his morale check.
Ah,
So I might not want to attack him in the middle of the line. I might want to attack the end of the line first, but
right.
completely understanding that that's 1-to-1 attack. But on the other hand, maybe you get lucky on the morale check. So I don't have an answer for you. I just want you to understand kind
Okay.
of the things that are going on.
Cool. I think that gives me some ideas. We'll go with something simple. I'll just have this chap attack that chap, and then this chap attack that chap, and then this chap attack that chap, I guess.
Well,
Right?
there you go, and then you just do whatever order of those three you care to do.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll do the one here on the end of the line first.
Okay.
So I guess he's got to make a morale check, and he's got to.
Right. So the defender needs to make a morale check first. I don't think there are any modifiers on it. Okay, that looks good enough to stand. Okay. There is no defensive fire here, so we'll move right on to the close combat itself. So the odds are 1-to-1 because it's 16-14, right?
Yes.
1-to-1. You have attacking units which are. What's your combat value?
Plus four. Yeah, they're plus
Right.
4 for both of them.
Right. Now, strictly speaking, because they're heavy cavalry, they get +2 in the first round of combat. That's effectively meaningless because, of course, he's going to get +2 also. But what the hell? Let's just go ahead and count the 2. So there's 6. You moved forward 4 hexes. So that adds 1, 2, 3, 4. So now that's up to 10.
Okay.
He has got 4. That's his printed value. +2 for being heavy cavalry. So that's 6. So at the end of the day, you're at +4 compared to him for this first round of combat only.
Right.
After the first round, none of that charge impetus, nor even being heavy cavalry, gets you anything, and you'd both be down to your printed values if the combat goes on. So it's 1-to-1 +4, unless somebody can tell me why I'm wrong.
Okay.
Sounds
It's,
good to me.
seems to make
All right.
sense. All right, here let's roll. Uh-oh, that's no good.
And we go right for the special results.
Oh my
This is
god.
where I've always
This
taken
is
the
where I
approach-
always end up with the stupid. So 0-4.
0,
I
4.
lose 2 and make a morale check. He loses 3
That's
and makes a morale
exactly
check. And
correct.
there's a star. I don't know what the star is for.
Star is a leader lost check if there was a leader on the defender's hex.
Oh,
Where
okay.
there wasn't. So that's meaningless. So yeah, so exactly. So your 2 units each take 1 increment loss, Eric.
Okay.
And then the defender's units, 1 takes 2 increment losses, 1 takes 1, and it's entirely up to the defender where he wants to allocate those, because effectively the largest unit has to take the first increment loss.
So,
And since they're exactly the same size, it's whichever one
Right.
it is.
so, all right. So, plus.
And now the real comedy gold here is where we each do a morale check G in order. And of course, one of your stacks has got an effectiveness rating of 22, and the other one has an effectiveness rating of 23, and I can't think of any other modifiers that would count. So ultimately, the defenders in this case have to roll first because they have a 23. Good enough. The attackers now need to roll against their 22.
Uh-oh.
And rout. Well, actually, I take that back. Lose an increment, one of your units, and rout.
Okay. All right, so they just should stay flipped like this, right?
Oh, you could do that. I
Or
mean,
we can put a little route marker on them, I guess.
honestly, I I like the route markers. I find that they
Yeah.
show up better.
All right. So then he goes back full movement.
6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right. And then the next chap. So then is anybody marked as tired or disordered or?
No, no. In fact, it's an unusual aspect of this that most of the time, one side gets disordered in the course of this. In this case, though, that isn't necessarily the case. However, because this is a cavalry battle and the defender is cavalry, the defender in this case actually has to consider whether he wants to advance after combat. Wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. It's not an option.
Yeah, I wouldn't think it would be.
15.1b, page 31. If, as a result of a close combat, attacking units vacate the front hex of a defending cavalry unit in line or attack column formation, at least one defending cavalry unit must advance to occupy the vacated front hex. Defending cavalry that is attacked solely through its flank or rear don't have to.
So I have to advance one then, huh?
At least one of the two units needs to advance, yes. And they need to, once they advance, they need to be faced in such a way that they could pursue the fleeing enemy. In other words, you can't turn and face into the flank of the next guy.
Unless he had gone this way.
Well, except that still wouldn't work for you, because if you were facing southeast, you would not be able to. Oh, God dang it. Excuse me. I mean, ultimately, you have to be faced in such a way that without changing your facing, you can move this way. Well, you couldn't do that if you were turned southeast. Okay. So you've advanced the one unit, and I think there's some real merit to the idea. Now, you've got the exact same problem that an attacking unit has, in that you need to deal with pursuit. You're not in anyone's zone of control, and so you need to roll for pursuit points, which is 1 die.
Are you talking to me or to David?
I'm talking to David.
Yeah. All right.
4. Okay. And so so pursuit doesn't happen if the advancing cavalry is shaken, or if all the defending units were eliminated due to close combat.
Where are you at? I have no idea what's going on.
I'm on page 32. I'm actually in the upper left of page 32.
Okay.
Pursuit. So none of the conditions for pursuit not happening apply. And so at this point now you've got 4 pursuit points. Now, if you elect, you got a choice here. You can choose to recall right now. You could choose to pursue a bit, in which case you follow the defender hex for hex according to the retreat path that he followed, and until you either destroy the enemy, because you're removing 1 strength point for every hex you pursue, or you run out of pursuit points, or you run into somebody's zone of control.
Okay, I'm totally confused. I have no idea.
Well, fortunately, all of this is stuff for David to consider.
No, but it sounds like for me, the retreat path needs to be something particular to think about, right?
Yes, in fact, it is.
Right. So if this is the case, then if I go here, 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 right? Then there's a Ezok here. They could only go so far, right? If I'm understanding
Yes.
that correctly.
I think what I would say, because of course the rules require that you go in as straight a line as possible, that you would probably just do that.
Oh, okay.
That would get you the zone of control. It would still put you in exactly the place you are now, but at least you would have that one hex that would force the guy to stop.
Ah, okay.
So yes, you
Oh, so I don't
absolutely
really have a choice. I have to go straight back.
well, you have to go in a straight line.
Straight line.
And you
Right.
have to
So
go
this
back
wouldn't
towards a
be
friendly map
right.
edge.
Yeah. So I couldn't go here, here. Right. It would be if I'm here, it's this kind of a thing.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah. It needs to be straight, and of course we also appreciate that it needs to be a straight line with understanding that there's a hex grid.
Right. Okay.
So in other words, it doesn't have to be straight along the hex grain, but it does need to be what amounts to the closest representation you can do to a straight line away from the enemy and towards a friendly map edge.
Right. And so here I've drawn a little thread so that
And to me,
shows.
that
Yeah.
is an unarguably valid retreat path. And of course, you could choose to zigzag north, south, or south, north
Right.
at your discretion. Well, in this case, I would suppose you'd probably prefer to do north, south.
Right.
Because why the hell not, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say that's given.
Okay.
And then we move to David. So David could elect to look at it and say, gosh, there's tons more Prussian cavalry up there, and what I really don't want to be is out there by myself. However much damage I did to that one stack, I really don't want to then get crushed by the rest of the Prussians. So I might choose to recall right now before I even move. That would be a completely valid choice.
Now, is a recall a roll or is it a?
It is. Is it a disorder check? Or is it a morale check? I think it must be a morale check because I'm not seeing it here on. Come on, where is it? It's like I picked a bad week to stop sniffing glue.
Cavalry recall.
There it
Disorder
is. It's a
check F.
disorder check. And so if we look at disorder check F, what you'll see is that there are a couple of modifiers. The important one is for every pursuit point you've expended, it's +5 to your die roll. Hardly any surprise, right? That if you try to recall the men immediately, you're going to have a better chance of it than if you let them run like crazy, sabering the enemy, and then try to get them organized. So it would be +20 if you went all 4 hexes, +10 if you're currently in an enemy zone of control, +5 more if you are disordered, and then obviously a leader modifier. Obviously, it's a little bit like in La Bataille. Clearly, you can grind up the enemy by pursuing, but you also put yourself in a potentially compromised position.
Right.
So it's just kind of up to you which of those feels like the right thing to do.
And so if you failed, it
yeah.
looks like you continue as far as possible,
That's right. If you
and then you're
fail-
disordered or disordered shaken.
Right. So if you failed to recall, you would follow, well, you'd follow in this case 1, 2, 3 hexes, and you'd be forced to stop there. And you will have removed 3 strength points from those units there. And then you will be disordered, and there you are.
Now, if I just pursued, I'd end up to there, and I don't even do it. I would just end up here, right?
You'd still end up there. Absolutely correct. The difference is then at the end of the pursuit, because you haven't rolled a recall check yet, then you roll the recall check.
Still roll a recall check. Okay.
And of course, that would be with +15 because you've just used 3 of the
And-
4 points.
And +10 because I would be in an Ezok.
Indeed so. A good point. So
All right, I'll
lots
try
of
and recall.
decisions.
Yep, I'll
Try to
try and
recall.
recall
Okay,
right now
that's
here. So
perfectly
let's
fair.
do it. And no, I don't.
Oh, you don't.
Your
Okay.
roll is as
I
bad
end
as
up
mine.
here.
One, two, three. So now that means that you grind up three,
3 more of
which means
his.
effectively they both would now have 3 increment losses because the one that has the larger size would take more increment losses. So there's the good news, the bad news, I guess. Now, all right, one, two, three. Now, now you would roll. Now you would roll. Let's see. All right, let's take a look.
No,
here.
I don't. I did my roll.
He did. He rolled his recall roll was a 16, which
Oh,
is a failure.
quite so. Yes.
So my question is: it says the pursuing unit is disordered or shaken disordered. How do you know which one it is?
Well, there's a very good chance that when you win a battle, you're already disordered.
Ah, okay.
And if you are, well, then you would become shaken disordered.
Okay.
So all
So
it's really doing is just pushing you one up on that continuum.
that's if we'd gotten a D result on the die roll or something, right?
Yeah, if I had ended
Yeah.
up disordered.
Okay.
Yeah, because like 1D, 1R is a really common sort of outcome, right? In which case the winner's disordered. Okay. I think that has it resolved now.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess we're on to the next
Just
one,
wanted
which
to
is
make absolutely sure because you've already done your recall check, so I don't think there's anything left to be done now.
Yep, I think we're on to the next one.
Only thing I'm struggling with, I just want to be sure about, and forgive me, because pursuit points are halved if you are disordered. But when you rolled the 4, you weren't disordered. And so if you fail your recall.
What? That's not covered in the rules?
Oh, no, I'm sure it is. I'm just looking for it. And no disorder check is made at the conclusion. Of course, that makes perfect sense. I'm sure it must be. You must keep all 4 because you had them when you had them.
And it says
You're
pursuing
disordered,
is
yeah.
disordered or shaken disorder at the end of the pursuit.
Right. Okay. Even clearer then. Perfect.
Yep.
All right. Well, then let's move on to the next one.
all right. So the next one we've got a 2-to-1, and then we can take a look at the stack. So
do
on
my-
4s.
I do my defensive morale check.
Do a defensive morale check. You're going to do it with a -10 for being in a supported line.
Oh,
Oh,
it's not
boy,
gonna be
just
well.
barely made it.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
made it.
Thank God for that
By the
supported line right at that
Hair of
point.
your chinny chin chin there. Yeah.
So if I had taken both of my units and moved into that hex,
Oh, isn't that funny? Oh, the twists and turns of fate here, huh?
All right.
Okay. All right. So so it is 2-to-1 as mentioned before because it's what it's you were an 8, right? But the attackers are both 8s.
Yes.
All right. The we're worried about the top 4 increments, and so that's a +5.
Right.
+6, +7 because of the commander who's there. That's
Yeah.
7. 8, 9 because you're heavy cavalry. 10, 11, 12, 13 because of your charge.
Okay.
So that's 13. That's your number. The defender is +4 because that's his printed value. 2 for being heavy cavalry. That's 6. So this one is 2-to-1 +7.
Okay. All right. Let's see what this one looks like. Okay.
All right. So that's going to be 6 on the 2-to-1
2-to-1.
chart.
All right. 1D2R.
1D2R. All right. So, either unit can can take the loss because they're
Okay.
exactly the same size, and the defender, of course, has to take 2. The defender has to route 6 hexes away, and I don't know. The retreat rules are a little bit frustrating to me personally because they kind of leave a lot of latitude. Obviously, it's not in his interest that he wants to retreat over that unit behind him, so he's probably going to want to trend southwest. He could easily argue that southwest is more directly away from the guy attacking him, and he's not wrong. So he could just go in a straight line right along the hex grid southwest and not run into anybody if he wanted to.
And then 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right, now the attacker has to move at least 1 unit in. Can
Okay.
move both, but has to move at least 1. The leader, of course, can either stay behind or advance.
He'll stay there. Right. And then both are marked disordered or just the top unit?
Oh no, everyone's disordered.
Okay. All right. Let's see if I can find a disorder marker.
Go. All right. Now, again, you have to retain such facing as would let you pursue, which your existing facing was perfectly adequate. And
Right.
in fact, I don't really know that you could make a change. I think you'd have to stay on that facing.
Right.
And now you would roll 1 die 10,
Okay.
and you would have the result and round it.
So I rolled a 0.
Okay, now this, for some reason, this doesn't seem to happen very often, but I will call your attention to the Prague special results table.
Where are we
Is
at?
It's the one where we find the initiative special results, but we're at the very bottom
Oh,
left.
pursuit. Okay.
Pursuit special results. So this is a case where you re-roll if you roll a 0 for pursuit points, which you just did. So you would roll another single die, and
Okay.
we would review it against this and see what we find.
Okay. So a 4.
That is
Out of control.
out of control. So that is re-roll and add +5 to the pursuit points. I don't think it's going to mean a whole lot, but it's
Right.
amusing. So re-roll, and we're going to add 5 to whatever you roll.
So I rolled a 7.
So that's 12.
Right.
Okay.
And then, but is it halved because I'm disordered, or does that?
It is.
Okay.
It is. But in all honesty, the very first hex you move into is going to be an enemy zone of control.
Right.
So you're going to move, and it was the one southwest of you.
Right. So this
So you-
one here. Okay.
Now,
Move right. What?
I just had a question. Would it have been better for me to actually go my route retreat this way?
I don't know. Would it?
Well, when this guy goes to make his morale check, now there's a guy in his rear.
Oh.
If
that's a
I
good
had gone
point.
this way, he would have stopped right there, and I would not have that.
That is a fair point. Yes.
So now does he lose another increment and then I stop?
What? Yeah. I mean,
I
he's
lose
going
one more.
to, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'll allow it if you want to change it. I mean, this is a friendly.
No,
game.
I did that.
This
Right?
This is a friendly 18th century war.
I'll stand by my. We'll see how.
Okay. All right. So, you move forward 1 hex,
Right.
and then any one of the following immediately ends pursuit cavalry. Well, excuse me. A blocked retreat path happens when you either cannot enter a hex or cross a hex side, or because you have insufficient pursuit points, or if the retreated unit. Why am I having trouble finding it? The fact that there's a unit right there in your face.
Right. I
Yeah,
stopped.
you entered an EZOC. That's
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
So it stops. Okay. Um. Okay. So there is no free movement. Procedure goes to the pursuit completion step, which is 16.26. So you're marked as disordered if it failed your recall disorder check. Of course, you were already disordered, so I think now you become disordered and shaken.
Well, why? Don't I roll at
Because,
the end of the pursuit?
well, oh no. See, well, okay. Let's take a step back because you had a special result.
Yeah.
The special result is no recall is possible.
Okay, so I just stop. So we don't do any more of the recall.
So you stop, but we still have to do uh, uh, the pursuit completion step. After pursuit movement and any free movement is finished, the cavalry stack is marked as disordered. If it failed its recall disorder check, it's also checked for SP violations, stacking point violations. A new stack. No. Actually, we should probably take a quick look and see if there's any further guidance in the rules about the pursuit special result. No voluntary recall is allowed for the length of the pursuit. If the unit is disordered, have the total pursuit points rounded, which we did, because
Right.
it was disordered, so 6. It does not say anything further. So I'm struggling with this a little bit here because in my mind, if no recall is possible, that feels like failing a recall roll. I appreciate that it's not exactly the same thing, but do you see what I'm getting at?
I don't understand. If there's no recall, then you wouldn't have a recall roll because there's no recall.
Yeah. If a unit or stack fails a recall disorder check before or during pursuit movement continues until condition 1, 2, or 3 is met. Because of failing the recall disorder check, the unit will be marked as disordered or shaken disordered if they're already disordered. The pursuit is otherwise unaffected by the failed disorder recall check. Any remaining PPs are not halved for pursuit or free movement, as the disorder is marked after the free movement is completed. The pursuing player makes a recall check and compares the result to the top.
I mean, it sounds like recall
yeah, I mean,
is.
I see your point. I mean, I see your point. We did not do a recall at all. There just wasn't anything.
But I did do pursuit, so there needs to be a pursuit completion step.
Yeah, but the pursuit completion step, which is that is where that's where the cavalry stack is marked as disordered if it failed its recall disorder check, which you're arguing you didn't, which is fair. Also checked for stacking point violations. It would require people to be displaced. The unit's stacking order can be freely changed. New stack must have the same facing formation organizational state as the original stack. None of
Yeah,
this
so I think I just make a pursuit completion roll, whatever that
See,
is, right?
but I'm trying to figure out why. I take your meaning.
Right,
Yes.
because the
Recall
no
wasn't
recall means
permitted
that I
during
don't.
the pursuit.
Yeah, so during the pursuit, I can't
Yes.
voluntarily say
Yes.
I'm gonna move 3 hexes and I'm gonna stop.
But now that you've reached the end, now you have to do a recall.
Yeah. So I still
Yes.
do whatever the
All right,
roll
so
is for that.
Plus 15, plus 5 for having used one of your points, and plus 10 for being in an EZOC.
Okay.
And I think you're okay.
Yeah, I'm a 22, so.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. All right, last but
Okay.
not least, we've got
Last but
this
not
one
least.
here.
And this one is, and this was what David was concerned about, is it's going to be a plus 10 on this guy because he's got somebody in his rear. He's outflanked.
And
Boy, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, actually, it turns out. So
So
he
I'm
becomes shaken, which is no bueno por caca.
nope, that's no good. Chicken.
So, so then if we look at the attack, so it's 2-1 are the odds. If we look at the attackers are probably pretty good. Are they 4s or 5s?
Give me a second. Let me flip them. All right,
5s.
so they're 5s, yeah.
So that's 5, 6, 7 for heavy cavalry, 8, 9, 10, 11 for 4 hexes of charge. So it's 11.
Okay.
The defender is a 4 plus 2 for heavy cavalry, so that's 6 minus 5 for shaken, so that's 1. So it's 2-1 plus 10. And this is where David is really thinking a 0 would be awesome.
Which is what I usually always manage to pull out when the odds are so
There's a
fantastic.
19% chance
Yep,
of
here we go.
satisfying his
Oh,
need.
no.
Okay.
So
That's
it's
2
going
to
to
1
be.
plus 11, which is going to be a shit show.
Yeah.
It's is it 3R? Is that correct?
3R.
Okay.
Yeah. That is bad, bad, bad. Now, of course, because he's going to want to avoid an enemy's control, he's going to have to retreat southwest some.
Yeah.
At the very least, 2 hexes southwest, even if he can then jink up and then start hitting southwest again.
Actually, can I just turn that to routed? Up.
There we go.
That was a decent. All right. So, up.
1.
So, this is. Wait. Which way would be better? 3, 4, 5.
All right. So, again, at least 1 unit has to advance into the defender's hex and must retain facing that will be able
Right.
to pursue, which means effectively you have to be facing west.
Right.
Okay. And then you would roll for pursuit points. In this case, you are not disordered, so you would roll
Okay.
and you wouldn't have it. You just get what you get. That's 6. So again, you can elect to take your recall right now, or you could go ahead and start pursuing a while and grind them up. And in this case, you're not going to run into enemy zones of control. So if you want to, you could just go ahead and do it and then roll for your recall at the end. Obviously, that puts you, a long way back there. But
Well, how
to
many
be
increments
fair,
does he even have?
well, he's got 5 increments left.
Oh, okay.
Which means you're actually going to go 1, 2, 3, 4,
Or
5.
five,
You will
I'd
be
end up-
adjacent to him when he disappears.
Right.
Right.
Then you will have 1 movement point left for a concept called free movement.
Okay.
So I will explain free movement because it's got a little bit of weirdness to it. So if pursuit movement is ended by conditions 2, 3, or 4, and the cavalry has unused pursuit points, then free movement is possible. At least 1 pursuit point must have been expended on the pursuit movement, and there must be at least 1 pursuit point remaining, which will both apply. If the pursuing player successfully recalled his cavalry before any pursuit points were expended, there is no free movement. A unit or stack that fails its recall disorder check can still use free movement. A cavalry unit performs free movement by expending any remaining pursuit points to move into a front hex and to change facing. Cavalry is not required to expend all of its unused pursuit points, and it may not expend any at all. So here's how you do it. You can make as many as 2 facing changes. Each facing change may be in any direction at 1 pursuit point cost, regardless of the hex points turned. That's not obvious. A hex cannot be exited if any enemy unit, routed or not, occupies either front hex. Facing change must be made before the hex can be exited. Cannot enter a hex or cross a hex side normally prohibited to cavalry in line or attack column. Cannot enter a hex if it has insufficient pursuit points. Cannot enter a friendly occupied hex. And of course, you'd have to stop if you enter an EZOC or you run out of pursuit points. So effectively, what it would mean is you would be in, I think, that hex,
Right.
and then you could make 1 turn in any direction with your last pursuit point.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is actually. It might be tempting to do it in this case.
So what would you suggest I do then? Which way should I? Well, I guess I would face this way.
Oh, I just face straight east, man.
Yeah, I'd face straight back.
'Cause now
Oh,
you're in-
oh, so I can turn around completely.
absolutely.
Oh, I thought it
was-
sounded like I could only turn one hex side.
No, I'm sorry.
no.
What it said 2 things that were a little bit confusing. One
Okay.
of them, it said you can turn twice. It also said that when you turn, it's 1 pursuit point for any number of hex points turned.
Oh, okay. So as long as I have the 1 movement point left, I can rotate back the way I came.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, well, that's obvious. Let's do it.
It seems pretty obvious. Yes. I mean, it'd be
1,
well worth
2,
a try.
3, 4, 5, and your guy is ground
And
to
that
putty.
vaporizes the unit.
And then, let's see, about face.
Where
Yeah.
are we putting these guys, or what are we doing?
Is there a graveyard? I think there is.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
if you want to.
Yep, there it is. Yep.
And then the only downside is that, yeah, you're going to have to roll plus 30 for your disorder check. But,
That's
you know.
piece of cake. Here we go.
Okay.
Is that a special thing, or is that just a fail?
I believe it is a special because
my
it's a
God.
recall, right? Yeah, it's an F. Plus 5 if the unit stacked with a leader, double the leader's ER bonus and reroll. Otherwise, reroll with a plus 5 modifier. So reroll plus 5. So it's now. Is it? I'm trying to remember if it's now. It really is just plus 5 now. I don't think it's plus 35.
Oh, okay. I got lucky
I
this
think it's
time.
just 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter if it was plus 35 anyway, because you're good enough there.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, boy, that. You know what, though? This was an excellent example of what happens with close combat and cavalry charges.
Well, I
Because
was.
what happened? What happened? You lost one and went running for the hills.
Yeah.
You did okay in another one, but couldn't really pursue very far.
Right.
And then you crushed them and were able to pursue them and grind them into dust. All in the same turn.
Wow. Okay. I guess it's time. So I need to flip my little leader over so we know he's done his
Yep,
thing.
that's right. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And now the feces really hit the rotary impeller.
All right.
All right.
So now
I think
it's
it's
time.
your. Is it your roll for initiative?
Yeah, if you rolled, it's my turn now, I guess. Here we go. 99.
That is definitely another advance of the end turn marker. And that is a movement for us.
Yep. So now I should probably move up these other guys behind.
Well, it's an interesting question. Yes, I would think you very possibly might want to
Yeah.
because, of course, he's going to be eyeballing that open wings on those units that you've got hanging out there, and he's going to be thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can smash you back a little bit.
So, and he's got a guy that's disordered, and there's a big gap in the line, right? So I could hit those guys on the flank. Is that correct?
I don't
One,
know if you
two,
can
three,
get
four,
to him,
five,
can
I
you?
don't think,
six.
yeah.
One,
I
two,
don't know
three,
how you'd be
four.
able to do that.
Oh, because my
'Cause
facing
your
is the wrong
guys,
way.
yeah, I mean, your guys are kind of filling most
One,
of the
two,
gap,
three, four,
right?
five, six. Yeah. Okay, interesting. So I could basically come up and cover my guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could come up and you could either charge the remaining guys, or you could just come up and just form a screen that meant that if you wanted to try to charge, you could countercharge. You know, like if you put a unit where that 4 is, for example, he couldn't come charging.
He can't get that far.
Well, he can. You just have to take a chance at a disorder check.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, by making my guy go a little further.
You just rapid march him and hope for the best, right? Because I mean, obviously, if you got a guy there, or even there, to be honest with you,
He could
but
then
if you got a
reaction
guy
charge.
there, if he tries to charge this guy in the flank,
Right.
well, then you.
Interesting. Okay.
Actually, I don't know that you could because he's already done the charge by that point. But he'd have to attack you too at that point, so that obviously would make it unappealing. So no, you couldn't actually countercharge because he was already within 2 hexes of you at that point, so that wouldn't really work. But let's see, attacking uphill would be -2 on the attacker. So anyway, you do you, brother. You're having a great time. I don't want to tell you what to do, but definitely, yeah, getting guys up and supporting the remaining guys is a good thing because
All right. So
it
then
seems
this
to me,
is then
especially in
the
cavalry battles, the
Furtenberger.
guy
Yeah.
with the last reserves is the one who wins.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see here. What can we do? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 6. It gets those guys there. All right, and I got these guys. Let's figure out where I can park them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can I be in this hex?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have
Okay.
a dot in it, right?
No, it looks like there's a dot on either side of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
You should be good there.
Okay. All right. And then this guy's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I should come forward a little bit more. 7, 8. Is that what you're suggesting? So I could cover.
Yes. Yes, you could do that. Yes. And if you did, and somebody tried to charge you in the flank, then you could countercharge.
Okay. All right. Well, then I
Now, of
will.
course, you're going to have to do a disorder check, but you got the leader there with him to improve his
Here we go.
chances.
Let's roll. See what
Less likely to-
exciting stuff we have. Okay. He should be fine.
All good. All good.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I want to charge. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3. Right, I get a plus for charging, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So these guys here are going to then try to do a close combat on try to do a charge, right?
I'm sorry, who's charging?
These guys here,
Oh,
one,
oh,
two,
oh.
three, right, to attack those guys
Okay,
there, right?
okay, all
Yeah.
right. Let me ponder that for just a minute. I want to make sure that I'm okay with this. Um,
Yes, tell me, Frederick, am I doing this
well,
correctly or
no,
not?
no. I mean, here's the reason. Because you know how I feel about Labatai cavalry charges,
Yes.
and what I want to be sure is that. Um, Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't see anything that causes me a problem with that.
Okay. All right, I guess.
Okay.
So if they're disordered, what does it? Uh,
The
what are the
effect of being
odds?
so all right. So the effect of being disordered is that he's got half of his strength points.
Okay. So I don't
So
need to
instead of
charge him
getting
with two of them necessarily.
no, not
Okay.
necessarily. He's got 3 strength points. The other thing is he'll be given a +5 on his morale check because of the disorder.
Okay.
So there's a slightly higher chance of him failing his morale check. But basically, you're just going to come in
Okay.
with one of those,
Yep.
and so you need to roll um, a morale check for him.
Okay. So he
Okay,
passes with a
that's good.
53.
Okay,
So
all right.
one, two,
And you don't need
three.
to worry about countercharge because he can't countercharge because he's first of all he's in an enemy zone of control, so he can't countercharge anyway. Secondly, he's disordered; he can't countercharge in that case either.
Okay. So now he's got to make a morale check.
Now he's got to make a morale check. That's right.
All right. I got to find
+5.
the.
Okay, you're done with all movement, right? So,
Yes, to my knowledge.
Yes. Okay. Okay. And that's almost certainly fine. 51. So at this point, then the odds are 7-3, so 2-1. And then we will look at the combat values on the 2 units. Okay, so the attacker has got a 3 printed value plus 2 for being heavy cavalry. That's 5, 6, 7, 8 for having advanced 3 hexes. The defender's got a 4, and then 5, 6 for being heavy cavalry. So it's basically just a +3 now, 2-1 +3.
Okay. Here we go.
Right?
but you said he was 8.
So I've got
5, 6, 7, 8. I'm sorry, he only advanced 3, so 8. So 8-6, so it's 2-1 +2. Thank you for catching that.
right. So the difference is, I think it's 4, given my roll. So is it 2-1 and a 4 the result?
Yes. Yes, it is. It was +2 and then 2 more for the die roll.
Okay.
Yes.
So for me it's a 1D and for him it's a 1R.
1R.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Now, what are the retreat rules?
Well, that's one of the things, right? The retreat rules don't make any stipulation about terrain at all. They say that you need to go in a straight line, and they say you need to go away from the enemy that caused your grief, and you need to go back towards friendly lines. So, in my mind, I think what you'd do is you'd retreat more or less straight west, right through the bog.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering if I was.
So it's just 6
nothing.
hexes back? It's not 6
It
movement
is 6
points?
hexes.
Okay.
Yes, that's an important distinction. Yes. Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
And then I roll on the pursuit
Well,
chart.
first of all, you advance into the hex because you
Oh,
have to do that. De
okay.
minimis, you've got to
Whoops.
do that.
Okay.
All right, now you roll pursuit points.
Ah, this thing again. God
You
damn
got
it.
mad skills, brother. You got mad skills. All right, roll again to see what happens on the table.
An 8. Reroll
Hesitation
and have pursuit points rounded
and
down.
round down. All right, so
So 5,
that's 2 pursuit points
2
then.
pursuit points. Okay.
Okay.
So I
So,
might as well go forward too, right?
well, yeah. I mean, I guess because you're not really going to put yourself in an untenable situation. I guess. I mean, on the other hand, oh no, absolutely, it's quite
Yeah,
reasonable.
because he can't. I mean,
Yeah,
he can't attack me through the marsh,
he's
right?
not going to charge you.
Yeah.
Um,
So
so
1,
yeah.
2. All right.
So uh, that chews up 2 more increments on the defending unit, and now you need to roll your recall check with a +10.
All right. Here we go. And we recalled.
Very convincingly. Okay, and was that it?
That was
So
it. So I
flip the
can
leader.
flip people, and this guy moved too,
Okay.
so I can flip
All
him.
right. Well, that is the comedy gold that is cavalry combat.
Okay.
Um, it will remind you of nothing so much as Wildcats and Mitsubishi Zeros.
Interesting.
And in this case, both of you have actually got a fair amount of powder dry. So there's plenty of opportunities for this to keep snarling and snarling and snarling. I mean, think about, particularly the west flank at Chatuzits, right?
Yep.
I mean, it was nuts, right? It was just
Whirling dervishes.
neither side had anything remotely like a line. And both sides are just frantically trying to get around the side of the other guy, but it was a mess.
All right, Michael. David. I think it's David's turn. Oh,
99.
another big fat
Another
roll.
99.
Holy moly.
It's another one for us.
All right. What else you got in mind there, bro?
Well, I've got some artillery that's been moving down towards the grenadiers. I guess I could maybe deploy it. I don't know.
You could let me. Oh yes, I see it down there. Yes, indeed, I do. I see it. You could. Yeah. Worth considering that. I'm pretty sure you're going to get minuses for all the same elevation distance that he's getting pluses, right?
I don't know. I didn't see anything about that.
David,
What's that?
you who so
Oh, yeah.
keen on the elevation changes.
Oh, yeah.
right?
I was looking at something else. Sorry. Yes, it works in reverse, though, I think.
Right.
It's not quite. Let me see where that was. It's on there, on one of these charts somewhere here.
It's listed here under artillery height advantage.
Yep.
Although
Artillery
it's
firing upslope, -5 from the die for each 2 levels.
-5 for each 2 full levels of difference. Okay, to a maximum of -10. All right. So in that case, it really doesn't matter. If you wanted to move that artillery forward, it's going to be on elevation level 2, and it's going to be shooting at people on elevation 3 or 4. So ultimately, it's just going to be -5 regardless. So it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So the question is what actual command are you going to do to activate in order to also activate the artillery?
Okay. Oh, so I have to do. Do I have to do somebody who's in proximity to them, or?
No,
Oh, actually, that's the funny part about it. It could be any command anywhere. Independent units activate independently.
Yeah.
I see. Well, let's go
You
ahead.
you
Who are
could go
these
activate
guys?
Zeiton down there or whoever that
Yeah,
cavalry one is, and do the artillery wherever.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
So let's see here. I've got Treshow, who is up here. We've got a couple of people in the line here with Treshow. So let's go ahead and get these guys in the right spot, I guess. Well, we got a couple of people that are all higgly-piggly. Salden. Oh, there's Salden. I'm trying to keep track of where everybody is. Treshow is part of Harchmoy. Okay, so we'll activate Treshow. I think. Where is he? I saw him a minute ago. Yep, he's here. All right, so these guys will move, and I'll activate, I guess, the artillery while I'm at it. So these guys will go. That's going to cost, turning that direction from, it's going to cost me 2. Yes, 2, and then 3 to go there. And these guys will do the same thing. That's going to cost 2, 3, and 4. All right, and that's it for Treshow. All right, and then the artillery. Does it make sense to stack it with the infantry, or should I have it unlimbered all on its own?
Well, I think that's something you should probably consider because if you stack them with the infantry, they make a tempting target for artillery fire from any batteries he has in the area.
Right.
Looks like his batteries can hit as far north as there,
Okay.
right? So you might take the approach of saying, well, at this distance, I don't need to worry about anybody charging me, or do I? I mean, maybe you do, because he's got that cavalry down here, because that cavalry could come and charge the artillery. So maybe that's not such a great idea to have the artillery out there by itself, but that is another alternative, right? You could just move the artillery through and deploy it in front of the infantry instead. But if you do that, you do run the risk that this cavalry is going to come charging down there and try to take out your artillery.
So when I unlimber, do I face any direction I want to, or do I have to face where I was facing?
Yes, I believe you are allowed to face in any direction you want. So, for example, if you turned one to the southwest, for
Right.
example, and then moved 2 hexes, you've now spent 3 movement points. 4, 5, in order to become unlimbered, would actually mean you're doing rapid marching. And so you could do that.
Okay.
This guy would have to spend 6, right? Because it'd be 1 to turn, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to become unlimbered. If you wanted to unlimber him as well,
Right.
And you're right, you could face any direction you like with any of those. I'm just thinking. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, you could just actually put them. I guess the other question you probably should ask yourself is, what does your range look like? Those are 6-pounders, right?
6-pounders. So
11 hexes is absolutely your extreme range.
yeah. Well, and they're not terribly impressive at that distance anyway.
No, they're not. No, and especially with -5 isn't helping matters.
Right.
So I mean, clearly he's got an advantage in range over you, right? because he's got. I mean, first of all, he's shooting downhill, and he can hit at 15 hex range more effectively than you can at 11 hex range. So bear in mind that perfectly fine to put those guns there. Just don't expect too much of them right away.
Right.
So really, the consideration there is: do you want them stacked separately, or do you want them stacked with the grenadiers, making potentially a bigger target for his guns? Obviously, you could move the guns, put them actually in front of your infantry if you wanted to, and tempt his cavalry to come down and charge. I mean, obviously, if the cavalry comes down and charge, they'd be able to maybe whack your artillery, but on the other hand, now they're probably disordered, and now you got grenadiers all around them.
Right.
And this is where combined arms pays back. So I don't really know if it's a huge risk, but on the other hand, I'm not really sure it's going to help you a whole lot, because 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, all of his guys are 12 hexes away from you, even if you set up in front of the grenadiers, meaning you're still out of range.
Yeah, for his charge, that is.
No, I'm talking about your artillery in subsequent turns would be 12 hexes from the defenders.
Oh.
The artillery would be so far away that they would not
1,
be
2,
able
3,
to.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, you're right.
And now, obviously,
Is there any
these
advantage
guys-
to having the artillery in like a village or something like this down here at Sterbehoel?
Oh boy, I don't know. That's a great question. You may not even be allowed to go in it, for all I know.
Okay.
I mean, road column only in walled church or farm, but in village they're allowed. They could. I mean, I wouldn't put them there by themselves, but I mean, you could.
Okay. No, I was just trying to figure out what to do with them.
Right.
Okay. So maybe
Yeah, I mean,
maybe putting
know.
them in the middle of the line would be better here somewhere where they could be more effective against the middle of his
Yeah.
line.
And they are FP, so they can fire and prolong on the same turn.
Okay.
So they can, keep advancing with the troops.
Okay. All right. Well, so let's see here. So we're going to turn them. We'd have to turn them 2 if we wanted to put them over here somewhere, right?
Yeah, they would definitely
Okay.
need to turn. So let's see. If you did,
That's 1, 2, and then 3, 4.
I'm just thinking about how to minimize trouble, because that's not acceptable.
There's Schwerin.
What?
He was underneath the artillery unit.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. Okay.
All right.
Well,
We
all
looked
right.
everywhere
All
else for him.
So what I'm going to suggest is that that's not valid, because he can't be in a hex with infantry in line.
Okay.
So what I might suggest instead is that's 1,
Yep.
2, 3, 4. Now they've got to do, that was a pass through, so they got to do disorder checks.
Okay.
But so what? I mean, that's just, at least this way, only that unit and that unit need to do disorder checks. If you try to move through this whole line, first of all, you didn't have enough movement points. Secondly,
Right.
everybody would have had to roll.
Okay.
So probably not very attractive. I don't know what you're going to do with this other guy. You probably don't really have enough movement points to move him through this turn.
Yeah.
But anyway, these 2 could roll for disorder checks for the pass through.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll give that a try, right? So for the artillery unit, it's happy. And then for the grenadiers, they're also happy. All right. And then this guy, well, if we turn him, so that's 1.
Right.
And then 2. And then
3,
maybe
he can move through the next turn. Or
3, 4 would get him there, right? If we wanted to do that.
Well, or 3 turn. That's
Yeah.
4, then 5, and just have to do a disorder with a. Well, no, I was thinking move into the infantry in front of you, then turn, and then move 1 forward from
Oh,
there.
okay. So he would move there,
That's
then
3,
he would turn,
and then 4,
and then 4.
and then 5. So
5.
now he's going to have to do a disorder with. Now it's going to be, I guess, plus 15 because he's pass through and rapid marching, and then the infantry is going to have to do the pass through.
Okay, so for the artillery unit, they're happy, and then for the infantry,
Not at all.
yeah, let's see what their morale is. 21. So they're going to be disordered. Is that correct?
Yep, that's
Okay.
right. Disordered. Yep.
I can handle that.
Yeah, under the circumstances, I would
Yeah.
think that would be okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that's that with them. Okay. All right. So those guys are finished, I guess.
Believe so.
Yep. Okay. All right. So that was that one. Now it's time for somebody else to roll for our exciting. I think it's back up to you, Michael.
All right. My goodness. Is that even a wing for the other guys?
It is a wing for the other guys.
Is it? Oh, dear. All right, David.
Oh, wasn't my wing 7?
Is it?
Oh yeah, your wing
It
is
might be
7.
7.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay, well then, regular activation.
Regular active. Now I gotta think about it again. Jeez.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's just so nice just to fly around.
Yeah, Brown's a 7 for wing activation. So.
Yeah. That's what I thought. All right. Let's do here.
I guess they had a coronation concert this evening in London and Windsor, and the actor Hugh Bonneville, who was Lord Grantham from Downton Abbey, was the MC, and he addressed the royal guests as the show began and acknowledged the king's love of the arts, joking that he was the artist formerly known as Prince.
Oh my God.
That's
English
some
humor. English
that's
humor
some
at its
comedy gold
best.
right there.
That is. It doesn't get much better than that.
Has our Austrian decided to retreat back to Prague yet?
Yes. I'm trying to find the most efficient way to do it.
Excellent!
Civil disorder.
Civil disorder. Ooh, are we playing a little diplomacy now?
Sure.
Excellent.
Oh,
I saw that big diplomacy map those guys were playing at the Buckeye game.
oh,
Yeah.
Wasn't that interesting?
Yeah. That was pretty spectacular.
That was hilarious. I made a wisecrack on Facebook that to do backstabbing on a map that size, you'd need a two-handed sword. Couldn't very well expect a dagger to reach. That was
Yeah.
fun. Did they like have pieces and like sticks to move them around?
Yeah, they did.
It
It was
was
just
that's
like
awesome.
just like, all they needed was it on an elevated one with, people in little Nazi uniforms pushing the pieces around practically.
It's
It's like
hilarious.
something from Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But it was pretty cool. But the whole game ended up like being one of the silliest kind of games that I can imagine, because um, the fellow who was like running it said, these people would backstab each other, then they'd make up, then they'd attack somebody. It's just like nobody got wiped out. Everybody was still left on the board by the time they wrapped up the game. And I think
Let's
the person who won had like maybe they were two people tied for first place with like 7 centers each, and
oh,
and yeah, it was like, okay, well, that's
I,
interesting.
I think I think it's an awesome thing
Yeah,
to have a group of people who are perfectly okay with getting backstabbed and just go right back to it.
oh
Just
yeah. No, and apparently from what he said, that the folks that were playing were all, for the bulk of them, were all beginners, or they were
really.
fairly new to it. Yeah, yeah,
That's interesting because actually you'd usually think those are the ones that would be the most um, anxious about getting backstabbed and the most apt to fly off the handle.
right.
But I assume they were all old hands as a result of this. But oh, that's great. And that is a game where, but more than almost any other, of course, it's true in any game that you're playing your opponent as much as you're playing the game, right?
Yeah,
But I mean, in diplomacy, boy, it is all who's at the table.
yeah.
All right, I think I'm gonna do SP.
SP. Where is
Wait a
SP?
minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Or
Are they
whatever
infantry
the
or
name is.
cavalry?
No, the cavalry.
Ah,
Let me. I just realized something here. So what's it?
oh, that's Spada. Spada's group of people.
All right. Okay. Here's what I'm trying to figure out how to do here, Michael.
All right.
Um, I'd like to take this one, come in on the flank. How do I screen this one?
Oh, I take your meaning. So you'd like to hit this guy in the flank,
Yep.
but you'd like to avoid this guy being able to interfere.
Yes.
Well, hmm.
I think wouldn't you just have to put somebody here?
Um, that would absolutely be the best way to do it. Um, so either move here, which is going to, you know, elicit a
Right. And
countercharge attempt from
there.
him, or move here. Um, the, and I think it's a free move for you because even though you've got a change facing, he can't countercharge you because you're out of his charge range. You're out of his charge zone,
Right.
right? So then you should be able to move there for free. And then then he obviously can't countercharge this guy who's trying to charge over here. So yeah, I mean, um, to be honest with you, I think probably the only thing you'd need to do is just turn this guy and then actually charge the 1 hex. Just do it before this guy charges, so this guy doesn't get a chance to countercharge. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I think that all adds up. And fortunately, since SP is also that command, then I think that probably sets you up.
Right. That's what I'm kind of thinking that there. All right.
Mhm.
Well, and so he's got a roll for activation, but I don't know that it matters,
Right.
right?
Yeah. So
Probably doesn't.
that should be, I think it's this guy. Is that Spada?
Spada.
Yeah, SP is Spada. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. So
it's probably good enough anyway.
Just barely.
Just that. Although, again, as we said, scarcely
All right.
matters.
so there's no
Where it
fire.
really matters mostly is on those special events where you got to roll your initiative to be able to do it.
All right. All right. So no fire.
Right?
disorder.
No disorder recovery. Right? Okay.
Or do I have a disorder?
I don't think you do because I think
routed. The other guy was routed.
right. Right.
The other guy that was disordered didn't route it. Okay. All right. So let's see what we're gonna do here. All right. So now it's the movement section. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Alrighty.
and this one's going to go. Actually, let's see. Can I? Yeah, that's probably the best.
Think you can move forward any without provoking a charge.
Right. And I was trying to say, was anything? Well, let's see. I could. No, it's still in. You're going to get in the way of that. But that wouldn't work. Go back. Okay. All right. So I think that's the end of movement. All right. So let's see. Now I got them. Or now I could just move there, right?
Yes,
not
certainly.
charge.
Yeah, you don't have to charge if you don't want to. You could just move and call it good.
Yeah, I'm just going to do that. I'm not. I don't want to charge.
All right.
All right. So this. But these I'd like to designate a charge and those.
Okay. Yep. Makes perfect sense. Who you're rolling for first?
We'll roll for the bottom stack first. Let's see.
Alrighty.
Okay, they're
They're
going
very
on.
happy.
Kidding?
The other stack,
Waited.
and they're not.
Uh-oh.
So,
All right.
so
Well,
there.
fortunately, because they're disordered and in an enemy zone of control, they can't do any reaction for you anyway. So
Right,
it is just straight on in.
they are morale shaken. Right. There's-
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, boom, boom, boom.
Okay. All right. So I think we can safely assume that we know what the individual combat designation looks like.
Mhm.
And so it is, let's see,
I
2
gotta
to
make a
1.
morale check. Don't I have to make a
Yep,
morale check to
Yep.
stand?
Yep.
Yeah.
Defender
Okay.
needs to make
This
a
one-
morale check.
This one
And-
before that, I'm trying. What's
Sorry?
what's the effect of disordered? I'm just trying to determine if I want to do a charge here.
Oh, the effect of disordered is that, well, obviously it is +5 for their defender morale
Wow.
check, which is going to counteract the leader being there, -5, and they're going to have half the usual number of strength points. So they got 4 strength points instead of 7.
I'm 5 to 4.
So yeah, so it'd be 1 to 1 instead of 1 to 2.
No, I'm not going to. All right.
Yeah, it seems a little difficult to justify.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And okay. Well then, so we know the odds, and now we probably ought to flip the units over so we can see what we're up
Well,
against here.
do I make a check to stand?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you already had. My bad.
No.
So yes, you would, and it would be at +15, +5 for being disordered. and
So this is a
+4
morale check B. Is that correct?
It is.
So
Yep.
we're both on column B for the pre-close
Yes.
combat. Okay.
Yep,
Cool.
that's right. You are +15 for your morale check. 10 for outflanked and 5 for disordered.
Oh, okay. Cool. Here we go. So I
Ought to be
still think
good.
I'm good, yeah, because I'm a 20
B
something.
or 22.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's low.
Okay.
So, all right, very good. All right, so it is 2-1, and the attackers are coming in on the flank. They are 3, 4, 5 for being heavy cavalry, 6, 7, 8 for having advanced 3 hexes.
Did you say he was disordered though? Was halved for being disordered?
Oh, quite so, quite so. So it's actually 4-1.
4 to 1.
It's you were 8, the attackers. The defender is 5, but he only gets the 5. He doesn't get the 2 for being heavy cavalry because you're not in his zone of control. Ironically, it might have actually. This is one of those cases where the fact you're getting hit purely in the flank means you don't get any advantage for being heavy cavalry at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 8-5. So it's +3. So it's 4-1 +3. All
So
right,
that's,
so that's
going to
a
be
that's
a
a
2.
2 on the 4-1 chart.
So I lose 2 en route, and he loses 1. Is that
That's
correct? Okay.
That is correct.
All right. So
However, it gets a little bit worse
well,
because you've got to route away, and you're going to lose some more increments as you route away because you can't avoid going through any enemy zones of control. I don't know. It kind of looks to me like the only valid routes are this way. I'm kind of less impressed with this way, although I guess arguably that one's valid, except you're going to run into the enemy there. So I'm not even sure if that one's valid. So I think you kind of have to retreat this way.
okay. All right. Well, if that's
You're
what I
going
got
to
to do.
lose
1,
1,
2.
2 strength
4,
points.
5. So
as you
even
go
though my
through.
units are there, they still don't stop
think
the.
that- I don't think that helps.
1,
And
2,
and of
3,
course, it's
4,
also going to
5,
require them
6.
to roll a morale check for having been
Right.
retreated through. I'm gonna double check. I think that's true that you still lose even though there's friendly units there. Double checking. Ezocs are not negated by friendly units.
Okay. All right.
So, and then a morale check F for the guys who you retreated through.
All right. So they're fine.
Okay, very good. All right, so he's advancing just the 1 unit
Yeah.
and then rolling pursuit points. Four. Unsurprisingly, you're only going to get to use 1. So, do you want to go ahead and recall right now, or do you want to advance?
I'm going to try the recall.
Ooh,
That's probably didn't work. 'Cause he had-
no, it didn't. Okay, well, so you got to advance the 1 then, and that's another increment lost on the defending unit,
Okay.
and then the unit becomes disordered. Okay. The best laid plans.
Well, you're presuming we had any plans at all.
Oh, well, yes, but if they had been best laid,
There you go.
it wouldn't have mattered. They'd still been screwed up. I think that's where I was going.
All right.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, this is comedy gold here. I love this stuff.
All right. I'm not sure whose role it is now.
Well, I think the real problem we have is that it's now 11 o'clock Central
Ah.
Time.
Yes, we might want to take a
Given,
break and pick this
given
up.
that we're clearly not going to get to the end of this turn.
No, that's all my fault. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm thrilled. I mean,
Yeah. No, we're finally getting to the point where something's going on.
exactly. No, this is great, man, because this is exactly. First of all, I think from just a battle perspective, it's what needs to happen. Because I think if you can win the cavalry battle down there, then that's going to make the rest of the battle just kind of fall into place. And so I feel like that's what had to happen first. Secondly, it's just a hell of a lot of fun because it's absolute chaos.
Yes, they are so chaotic.
And if it means that it takes us 2 weeks to do a turn, so be it.
All right. Well, that's good to know. I will go ahead and save things as they are. And we are
That is
Prague.
a fine idea. What is it? We're
It's the mid 11 a.m.
11 mid, right? All right. Very good. And does anybody want to observe the zaniness font noise?